am a personal trainer. When it comes to the difficulty of developing the pectoralis major as expected, what do you think the causes are? It could be due to a body type that struggles to gain muscle, but if we say that, it feels a bit like we're not getting anywhere. The range of how easily one can gain muscle varies greatly, and determining where one falls within that range is quite a challenging issue. It's also difficult to draw a clear line on that matter. So, while it's not helpful to dwell on it, the question remains, how can we approach this differently? It is what it is, and there's nothing we can do about it. However, even though it can't be helped, I want to focus on building size within those constraints. It's not just that people with a body type that finds it hard to gain muscle won't develop the pectoralis major. There are other underlying causes as well. For those over 50, there are specific reasons related to that age group. It's not simply about losing muscle. That's not the point. In my experience with individuals over 50, including those in their 60s and 70s, the condition of the shoulder is indeed a significant factor. I believe that this situation is a significant cause of the issue. Therefore, when performing the dumbbell press and bench press, the shoulder should be in a certain position. Even when lying down, if the shoulder is in a flat position, it becomes difficult to create the necessary arch. When pushing from a flat position, the shoulder tends to rise, which leads to this problem. If we can maintain this arch and create a gap, we can achieve the proper form. It means that you can perform the exercise without raising the arch. First, while maintaining this arch that doesn't rise, and keeping the shoulder in a retracted position, doing the dumbbell press and bench press is a new approach. This allows for the elongation of the pectoralis major and enables proper contraction of the muscle. If the position changes and the arch is lost, the ability to contract effectively diminishes, making it difficult to develop the pectoralis major. Therefore, how well you can maintain this arch is extremely important. Why is that? We will go over how to properly prepare the body to create that arch. It's not enough to simply say, please create the arch like this. Even if I instruct you to do it this way, it often doesn't work out. The individual may feel that they are doing it correctly, but they still end up moving inappropriately. So even if you understand it in your head, if your body isn't prepared, you will still end up in the wrong position. Just thinking about it won't solve the problem at all. So I would like to go over how to align the body for that purpose. What we will do is focus on this arch. Maintaining the arch means that the front is opened up like this, but we need to contract the back. If we cannot maintain the contracted state of the back, we end up in this position. And since we cannot create this shape in the first place, we end up like this. Therefore, I will go through each part step by step, dividing it into 5 stages. Please try each step and see how you feel. I hope that by doing the exercises I will introduce from now on 3 to 4 times a week, you will be able to resolve this issue. First, in order to create an arch, you need to have flexibility in your body. Otherwise, you won't be able to bend. So, starting from a prone position, stretch your arms out and lift your face to create an arch in the lower back. I hope you can do this comfortably. It's important not to force your lower back, but rather to keep it relaxed while extending your arms, allowing the natural arch in the lumbar region to form. I want you to get used to this. This is for those who do not have a natural arch in their lower back. I think this will create a lifted state. Well, there's no need to force it, but it should feel like you are naturally relying on your lower back while lifting your chest and face. As you get accustomed to this position over the course of 2 to 3 weeks, it will gradually become easier. First, I hope that by doing this, you can create an arch in your lower back, as this flexibility is important. Additionally, creating an arch involves not just the lumbar region of the lower back, but also the area above it, which is the thoracic vertebrae, the part of the spine between the scapulae. If you don't shave that area, you can't create an arch. Even if this part is arched, if this is rounded, it will end up like this. Therefore, by shaving both this area and the upper part, you can create an arch. Now, using this bench, we will perform a probe-like exercise. The lower part of the scapula will touch the bench, and if you slightly rest your head and extend your arms, it will feel like this stretch. In this way, the lower part of the scapula is currently making contact with the bench. Focusing on that area, perform stretches that create an arch. It feels like gently bouncing the arms to develop flexibility. This helps to create an arch in the sturdy part of the back. Without this, you won't be able to form an arch. So, it's about bending both the lower and upper parts, maintaining that shape in your mind. Please do these 2 stretches regularly. First, you need to develop flexibility through stretching, but next, the muscles in the back must also contract properly. The inability to achieve the proper form is due to not properly tightening the back. If you can't tighten as much as possible, you won't be able to contract. However, many people already have this form, which causes the back muscles to be fully stretched out. If the back is fully extended, it won't be able to contract properly. If the muscles are only going through the motion of stretching without contracting, they won't be able to achieve proper contraction. Therefore, it is essential to work on tightening the muscles effectively. This becomes particularly challenging as one reaches their 50s. First, what I want you to do is the Ironman exercise. Start by fully contracting from a position where your chest is raised, and make sure to tightly clench your fists. This will ensure that everything contracts. By everything, I mean the lower back area. While contracting the thoracic vertebrae, also squeeze the scapula tightly to achieve maximum contraction. For the pectoralis major, this height is quite necessary. Both height and this are required. In this position, keep it fully contracted for about 30 seconds. It's fine if your hands don't float. Since I lowered my hands, I kept it fully contracted like this. In this situation, continue to contract as much as possible while maintaining this height and hold it tightly for 30 seconds. Now, how does this look for me? 20. I think it's raised about 25 to 30 centimeters, but it's more about the chin, you know? Naturally, while discussing this topic, it has come up. When you can contract this much, the shoulder tends to move forward during the dumbbell press. I want to aim for more than just this level. I want to reach this height where you can properly contract. Please work on achieving this height every day. The third stage will involve more exercises. The fact that the shoulder is moving forward is not just a lateral movement, but also an upward and downward movement. Everyone is rotating in this way, and there are also instances where the scapula is rotating like this. When we say it is rotating like this, it means that the area around the scapula is in a position where it is floating. You can understand that the scapula is floating in this way, with the lower part elevated. In this state, we want to achieve a closed position. By closing the scapula, the shoulder joint rotates forward. We will start by returning to this position. First, lie face down on the bench. Place your elbows directly beside your body. Bring your elbows to the side of your body and bend them to 90 degrees. With your elbows at 90 degrees, rotate from the elbows, using the upper arm as the axis. You can face forward or place your hands down. Either way is fine. From this position, when rotating down and rotating again, the wrist is not involved. It probably won't go well. Because it doesn't go well, you might try to force it with the wrist, but that's unnecessary. Keep the wrist straight and rotate around the elbow to reach horizontal. You shouldn't raise the shoulder. Keep the shoulder level and avoid twisting the body. I'm trying my best to get to a horizontal position with the floor, and it's not about the number of repetitions, but rather the degree of closure being higher. That is preferable. When I do this, it may look like an arm exercise, but it's actually about the direction of the scapula closing, as I mentioned earlier. Right now, I can feel the inner and lower parts of the scapula tightening as I do this. So, I want to maintain that closure in this position. Hold for about 10 seconds, then relax and take a break before immediately lifting again and holding for another 10 seconds. It can be quite tough, especially when you reach this horizontal position. You can really feel the inner part of the scapula and the area below tightening up. This is because the scapula is closing now. We want to strengthen the muscles that help close that area. So we will repeat this process of holding horizontally for 10 seconds, tightening it up, and then returning, doing this about 5 times. It's an alternating movement, right? I want you to do it alternately from side to side. When I say I want you to do it alternately, it can be quite challenging. Using a level, well, you don't need to hold anything. Doing it level can be quite tough. First, let's start with this. So, what are you holding now? Well, you don't need to hold anything. If you have a little weight, about 1 kilogram of dumbbells is fine. Just 1 kilogram is enough. You don't need anything heavier. So, let's keep doing this level exercise while ensuring that the shoulder joint absolutely does not move. While ignoring this, aim to hold a horizontal position for 10 seconds, continuously tightening the muscles below the scapula to increase strength. This is a bit advanced, so if you find that your shoulders are still protruding and you can't quite reach the top, it's okay not to hold anything. If you do hold something, it should only be up to 1 kilogram. Now, having done this L-flip exercise, the next step is to perform it without holding anything, whether seated or standing. It's fine, but in this state, it feels different from usual. Let's try closing it. Like this. By consciously closing the scapula from this position, we can move the lower corners of the scapula inward. This doesn't involve moving the hands or pulling the elbows. The elbows remain still. While doing nothing, the shoulder joint muscles rotate from a forward rotation to a backward rotation. You just need to close this. You can do both at the same time or just one side. If you hold the mouse too much with your right hand, your right shoulder will be more affected, so it feels like you are closing the right scapula in this way. The hand rotates, and because of that, the hand moves, but you should make an effort to close it without moving from the hand. You can do this one side at a time, closing it tightly and holding for about 10 seconds, then resting, and then doing the opposite side tightly for about 10 seconds and resting. Well, to be honest, you can do this while waiting for a train or a bus, so you can casually squeeze your muscles without thinking about it. Earlier, I mentioned being aware of your health by moving your arms, but it's quite difficult to do this while just standing here without any movement. I really want you to be able to do this. If you can't reach this point, then it's likely that you won't be able to do it at all. So, you want to close this off, right? Now moving on to the fourth stage, the idea is to use more muscle strength to tighten this area with greater force. This involves the dumbbell bent over row. From here, you extend your arms almost straight out to the side, bending your elbows slightly. In this position, with your elbows bent to the side, the shape of your elbows is just to close the back. It's solely about closing the back, without involving any bending of the arms. Exhale and hold for about 10 seconds, then return. During this time, instead of keeping your sides tight, try to keep your sides as wide as possible while pulling your elbows back. This should feel like opening your collarbone and expanding your chest. The strength to connect health is gradually being developed. It involves tightening the scapula around the torso. For this torso, the chest and back should move in a way that feels like they are fixed and closed for 10 seconds. I want you to build the strength to maintain this tightening and to be able to close the back separately from the arms. I would like you to try this for 3 sets of 10 minutes each. Once you have developed this tightening strength, then finally, when it comes to the fifth stage of the deadlift, you can use either a barbell or a dumbbell. Both are fine. While performing the deadlift, from the normal deadlift position, you should close the scapula. Instead of standing all the way up straight, you should rise to about 90% of the way. This feeling of stopping at around 90% is important. From here, as you lift, you should do it in a way similar to what we discussed earlier. Instead of pulling with your arms, you should avoid letting your arms go in a certain way. I really dislike it when the arms don't stay in the right position. While it's okay to let them hang down a bit, focus on this part, just this part. Tighten it up for those who are sticking out. When it comes to deadlifts, I'm currently doing a lighter weight, but I aim to perform them with a weight that feels challenging, around 10 reps, focusing on the purpose of developing strength. Therefore, rather than focusing solely on the current dating list, it is important to strengthen the muscles around the spine, scapula, and lower back. Without adequate muscle strength, one cannot maintain the arch while performing the dumbbell press, as there isn't enough strength to support the back, leading to reliance on the front side. Thus, it is essential to have flexibility and muscles that can contract to close the back, and to be able to do this consciously. There is a way to use your own awareness, along with stronger muscle strength for the spinal techniques used in drifting. It is only with strong contraction of the muscles in the upper and middle back that the forces from the front and back can be balanced. If you only try to strengthen the front force, it won't work. If one side is 100 kilograms and the other is only 30 kilograms, it will definitely lose. If one side is 100 kilograms, then without the strength to maintain that 100 kilograms, it will absolutely lose. It is only with equal strength on both sides that you can finally lift in this form. So, it is important to develop the strength of the back muscles as well. As we discussed earlier, there are 5 stages. It is always beneficial to practice stress management. If you find the second and third stages difficult, it is necessary to practice them frequently. I think many people struggle with this, so I hope you can work on these smaller aspects as well. Ultimately, it is essential to build muscle effectively. It's a mistake to think that you can just do the deadlift to achieve this. It's probably because you haven't been doing it correctly from the start. You need to properly follow the 3 steps, and by going through these 5 steps, you can effectively engage your back. I want you to do it in the order of properly training the pectoralis major as well. By doing so, you will stimulate the pectoralis major significantly, making it easier to develop. This is something that people often don't consider in their daily routines. People training the pectoralis major often overlook this, but it is definitely effective to work on the muscles at the back. Please make sure to incorporate this into your routine. Let's keep pushing forward. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'm also on Instagram, so please follow me there. I am a personal trainer.